I'm Ella Eng. As Jamie mentioned, I'm a CS director and the team lead of our enterprise customer success team. I've been with Totango for about 5 years. And I'm joined up here on stage by Rachel, so I'll let her introduce herself.
Yeah, my name is Rachel Timman. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Any other Minnesotans here? Okay, the Canadians are close enough. So I just got promoted as a strategic program manager, but I used to be our CS ops manager as a few weeks ago.
Yay, congratulations.
A little bit about Varicent. So our mission is to drive revenue growth. So we offer territory quota planning management software and incentive compensation management software. We're driving analytics, giving you metrics, and improving efficiency for revenue teams. A little bit about Varicent and Totango. So we implemented, I think we signed our contract in November and started implementing in December, and then everybody left, but January 1 is when we really hit the ground running. Varicent has 5 customer success teams: growth, enterprise, strategic. We have technical account managers, and then our customer engagement managers. We have 3 ops teams members, which I feel like is actually a pretty big ops team for customer success. So far, actually this slide's out of date, we did one yesterday. We've done 5 NPS cycles in Totango, and we have sent over 50,000 emails, which made the eyes and the heads of our marketing team roll a little bit, but yes, we have been getting our money's worth, I'll say that.
Great. So we're here to talk to you guys about making it count, the 5 metrics that matter in customer success, and we also want to kind of talk through how these 5, along with others, are actually all interconnected to drive towards revenue impact. So when we think about business outcomes, there's a concept of a supply chain, and it really starts with having engaged and satisfied employees who are doing the right actions at the right time for the right customer. And when that happens, that really leads to really positive customer touch points and engagements during the journey stages. That's really going to help to fuel our loyal customer sentiment, which is a leading indicator towards loyal customer actions, which will ultimately lead to our business outcomes. Okay? So with that in mind, let's go ahead and layer in the metric system for each of these levels. And we're going to go ahead and start at the base with employee sentiment. So most companies have some kind of eNPS or employee opinion survey or some sort of index that's going to allow us to understand, how our employees are feeling. And from that, you can do a lot of detection, problem detection and solving. So the next level up is going to be our employee actions. So are the people doing all of the things that we're expecting them to do, right? So are they following through on the success plays and completing the tasks and logging the touch points and engaging with our customers and sending out those reference invitations and creating and following through on those outcome success plans? So if they're doing the right actions at the right time for the right customer, the hope is that we would be creating these really positive customer engagements and touch points. And this is going to be at the journey level, right? And we can go ahead and measure that, by CSAT, for onboarding. Or what does that mean time to resolution for support, right? Or how did we handle that escalation? Next up is the pyramid, which we're getting into our customers. So how are our customers really feeling about us, right? As a company and as a brand, right? So this is going to be at the relationship level. And we can go ahead and measure that based on NPS or a customer effort score or even a survey, asking our customers, what is their likelihood to renew? So let's take, for example, NPS. So if one of our customers provides us a 9 or a 10, which is exactly what we're looking for, right, indicates that they are a promoter for us. When a customer does that, they haven't actually necessarily promoted us or provided a reference for us yet, right? And that's really the difference, right, or the distinction between customer sentiment and actually having the customer perform the customer action or that behavior, right? which brings us to the next level up, which is our customer actions, which encompasses what our customers are actually doing, right? So how many references have they provided for us? Have they attended our events, like all of you, and speaking with us, right? Have they responded to the 10 or 15 surveys that we're sending them? And are they utilizing our platform and services? Which ultimately leads us to our business outcomes. And we can really break that down into outcomes for your customers as well as outcomes for your business, okay? So outcomes for your customers are really gonna, depend on the product and services that you guys provide. But outcomes for our business, that will likely be retention and churn, or how are we doing with our renewal growth, and are we hitting our expansion targets, and a myriad, right, of our business outcomes success measures. So we're going to go ahead and take you through the 5 metrics that matter along the customer journey. We're going to go through how that's implemented into Tango, and Rachel's going to share with us Varicent's case study for each of these metrics. So as we start our journey with our customers, we'll be going through onboarding as well as adoption, and it's really going to be important for us to understand and have our meaningful engagements, okay? And we can go ahead and measure that based on, or we can accomplish that based on touch points into Tango, which we can showcase within a SuccessBLOC scorecard, right? And ensure that the team is following through and ensure we're having these meaningful engagements at the cadences which we expect to be having them, okay? So are we having the business reviews and executive alignment calls? Are we engaging with our customers in expansion opportunities as well as doing our relationship building? And on the flip side, it's going to be really important for us to have visibility into when we haven't had one of these meaningful engagements, in a certain amount of time, right? And you really want to align these to your engagement model, right? However you're doing that. If it's by tiers or if it's by strategic, enterprise, SMB, and really think about, what's going to be meaningful for you. So ensure that you're customizing that for your organization. Let's go ahead and hear from Rachel about Varicent's touchpoints.
So I pulled our touch points in August. Our CSMs, touch points are the ground floor of what it means to be a customer success manager. We hope our CSMs are having calls and then logging those calls. So our CSMs they're averaging about 8 touch points per account, which in August, that's about 1 a month, so we're pretty happy to see that. These are some really great statistics of what we've seen, but really where we use touch points and where we found a lot of benefit out of them is how our directors are able to access the touch points. So I've got a quote here from our Enterprise and Strategic Accounts Director, and his team owns over 300 accounts. And when he logs in, looks at the timeline in the morning and sees the calls that happened yesterday, NPS scores that came in, any usage metrics that we got going in the timeline, he said that he feels keyed into his team and that when he does his one-on-ones, he's already read the context and he can jump in with his team. So by having the touch points in his timeline, he's able to get caught up to speed and really take the touch points to the next level.
So when we think about metrics, right, and tracking the success of our initiatives, they're really typically thought of as an end goal, right? But metrics can actually be a starting point or even a middle point towards your next end goal. So if we've taken, let's say, our meaningful engagements, we can say that is going to lead to increased product adoption for us, right? Which is going to lead up, so we can go ahead and take our metrics to the next level and really level ourselves up here. So that brings us to our second metrics that matter, and that's going to be the all-important product adoption. I don't think I need to tell anybody here the importance of product adoption, right? How important is it really for us to understand that our customers are utilizing our platform and our services? So incredibly important. So we really want to understand license utilization and consumption and what is our active users, right? But we also want to understand that some of our feature and module usage, right? Especially for the features that are going to be most sticky for us, right? Because there's a correlation to the likelihood for renewal. So with that, let's go ahead and hear how Rachel was able to increase, and Varicent was able to increase their product adoption.
Yeah, so this past winter, we launched a new product feature that was centered around reporting. So we do commission software for incentive compensation analysts to build out reports for sales reps to view their commission. And this is a much more slick feature and really kind of replaced a old IBM version that we were running on before. So instead of just relying on our release notes and our customer newsletter for that adoption of the product usage, we held a hands-on workshop and then took that hands-on workshop attendee list and sent out a 6-email campaign that had videos that pointed to our learning portal. And we saw this massive increase in product adoption. We had about 60 accounts that had 2 reports in the feature, and that doubled. So 2 times the number of accounts that are at least logging in and using it. And all this is zero touch. We just sent an email campaign and automated it, and we saw really great numbers come out from taking that very specific group that was already interested from a workshop and turning them into product experts.
That's excellent. So as we discussed earlier, metrics can really be, a starting point or a middle point for our next end goal. So let's start to build out our network of metrics here, okay? So we have our meaningful engagements that can lead to increased product adoption, and as we just heard from Rachel, so can workshops and webinars, as well as enablement activities, which can also be considered a meaningful touch point, meaningful engagement, as well as our digital campaigns, which can also drive increased workshops and webinars. So our next phase here in our customer journey is going to be advocacy, and our metric that matters here is customer sentiment. And if we remember the CS metrics architecture, this could be customer sentiment based on one of our individualized journey stages in the form of CSAT, or it could be the sum of all of our customers' experiences in the form of NPS. So in order for us to drive best-in-class customer loyalty, we'll take a look at the canvas here, and we're going to start out with listening, right? So we're going to go ahead and send out our NPS campaigns to our customers, and then we're going to want to understand what is that overall NPS for us, right? And also, what does that break down in percentage between our promoters, passives, and detractors? The next step here is closing the loop with all of our customer respondents. And we really want to take advantage of the opportunity to amplify our brand in positive ways for our promoters. And then for our detractors and our passives, we really want to make sure that we're understanding the why. Why are they not a promoter for us, and what would it take to get them there? The next step here is interpreting and analyzing. So we have all of that great data in Totango about your customers. You really want to start slicing and dicing that information to start to correlate patterns between your low and high NPS scores, right? So we can see here, if we took our journey stage, we can see that our overall NPS is a 21 in this example. For our customers that are in our adoption phase, it's a 29. But for some reason, it's significantly lower for our customers in established phase. So we could really dig into that. And then the last part is sharing and taking action, so we can work to overall improve our overall customer NPS and ensure a positive trajectory. Let's go ahead and hear from Rachel on their robust NPS program.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to my customer success manager, Claire Carlson, and Vale on the data engineering side for taking in the different inputs that we have for our NPS and helping us understand how to get that working into Totango. So we collect NPS in 3 ways. First off, every time a support ticket is closed, we send out a survey that includes an NPS question. Then we also have an app, or the app called App Queues, that is a pop-up in our product that goes in our admin portal. It says, how likely are you to recommend us? We keep that up for about 2 weeks. And then if you have not given us an NPS score at that point, then we send out the email campaign. So lots of different sources there. Everything pulled into a single Totango NPS attribute. And then the close the loop. It used to be a little bit more complicated than this. And I threw in you should see, this is a place where I personally, as an ops manager, used Canvas to just take a screenshot of that and have that in a presentation to say, this is our plan for NPS. We're sending this email. If you get a 0 to 6, I'm doing an internal alert, a task assigned to the CSM, and then a task assigned to their manager if the CSM doesn't get that closed out in 2 days. 7 and 8s get an automated email asking what's it going to take you to get to a 9 or 10. And then our 9 or 10s that we get kind of go down through a series of if you're allowed to give endorsements or not. And then if you've given us a G2 review recently, we're going to ask for a trust radius review. If not, we're going to ask for a G2 review. So the close the loop for us was really this leveling up and our jumping point to take our NPS and get G2 reviews. So let's go to the next slide. A little story. So I was all ready to go live with Totango in February, and then I realized, no, NPS starts January 1 for this quarter. So here we go. We're all like working from home at our in-laws' houses trying to get the NPS spun up. But we sent the email out, and that hour that we sent it out, somebody gave us a 9 NPS score, got the email to do a G2 review, and then we got a 5-star G2 review. All automation, all within an hour. My boss was like, all right, it pays for itself. We're fine, we're happy with this. So we had a goal of getting over 200 G2 reviews in our last half, and just over 10% of that came from automation. Didn't come from our CSMs going down and tracking down these people. So by honing in on these people that already liked us, that were already giving us 9 or 10s, we were able to jump off of NPS and hit our G2 business outcome.
Love that story, Rachel. So Katie Y here, actually shared with me earlier that Totango has also received over 125 new G2 reviews this year using a very similar method that Rachel just described. And this has really landed us to be a leader in multiple functionality categories, as well as being a leader across all types of business segments. So take advantage, it works. So let's go ahead and follow through on our network of metrics and layer in our customer sentiment. So we know that closing the loop is going to lead to meaningful engagements for us, and it also leads to G2 reviews, as well as references for us. And it can also be considered, customer sentiment can also be considered a middle point for us to capture how positive was that individualized customer experience from our workshops and webinars. So coming back to our customer journey, our 4th metric that matters is going to be customer health, and that's really going to be relevant across your entire customer journey. So multidimensional health can provide a great deal of insights for you about how your customers are doing. And as the name suggests, it includes multiple dimensions, which can be weighted differently. So your dimensions can be weighted differently, and your criteria within each of the dimensions can be weighted differently, so you can provide a higher influence, right? So you can actually have a health rank and health score at your account level per account, but additionally have a health rank and health score per each of your different dimensions. And you can really see this broken out for each of your accounts, or you can see this across your entire customer portfolio or individual CSM's book of business. Let's go ahead and hear how Rachel and Varicent does customer health.
I'm almost embarrassed to share this spreadsheet. As customer success leaders, we're often told, do you have a customer health score? Sure, red, yellow, green. But we decided to go to the drawing board, decide what are our predictors of churn, a predictor of reference, a predictor of growth, and we had about 50 metrics here. We pulled in our chief analytics officer, and he was starting to go right to the drawing board, okay, like what is health? What is a checkup? If I was a nurse for customers selling incentive compensation management software, and we really got super granular about all these 50 metrics. What were the thresholds? If something hit a 50% login, how many points does that get? And all of a sudden, we're building out this massive spreadsheet, and we had to take a step back and said, how in the hell are CSMs going to use this? What are they going to do with it? How do I know what's the difference between a 65 and a 78? There's no indicators here. So we took something very flat and made it quite dimensional. So I often say that we bought Totango just for that health widget alone. That alone saved me a really big headache with this customer health score. So this is what it looks like now. It's extremely digestible for our CSMs. They're able to hover to say, why is this red? Why is it green? Why is it yellow? And we still have that complexity, that weighting, those metrics, but it's still intuitive. But not only do we have a customer health score, but the big thing for us is making repeatable best practices that follow up that. If admin login percent hits 25%, we assign a task to the CSMs to go figure out why. If admin login percent hits 101%, we assign a task to the CSM saying, go get an order form. They're clearly at their threshold here. So it's not only the predictor of churn opportunities that we're trying to take advantage of and make the CSMs more comfortable with what to do with these predictors of churn, but also the positive items of when a customer is doing really great. So this customer health score has been evolving over time, but that's the thing I also love about it is that we're making a clone for our growth market teams and maybe changing the thresholds just a tad or adding in a few new metrics, and we've been able to mold this over time and kind of adjust how we're reacting over time as well.
Great. Let's go ahead and layer in our customer health into our network of metrics. This is where our meaningful engagements, our product adoption, as well as our customer sentiment can be their own dimensions for how we go ahead and measure health. And our fifth here is going to be for retention and expansion stages, and that metric is going to be revenue impact. So our ultimate goal is to ensure that we're achieving our business outcomes and we're impacting our revenue with our renewals and expansions. So we're going to want to understand, what is our percent renewals? We're going to also want to understand, we're also going to want to identify and execute on our expansion opportunities, right? And then we can also even set up a mini lifecycle stage so we can track the progress for our team in successfully completing these renewals and expansions.
So my experience as being a CS ops manager was sitting in on these meetings with the CS directors and hearing the different initiatives that they wanted to do and saying, okay, yeah, I got to go make a task for that. Let's send an email to the customers and kind of building out their ideas into a process in Totango. And one of those was with our VP of Revenue Ops. She wanted to build what she calls, I don't know if this is an industry term, is a white space where she wanted the CSMs to go in and identify if there's any interest in some of our expansion products. So we're pulling in through a Salesforce integration a specific opportunity record type and what stage that's currently in. And then we are asking the CSMs on a quarterly basis using a rapid insight form, is there any interest in this expansion product? So we're not, how many times have you all been, we need 30 customers that are going to be interested in this. We need 40 customers that need this. Now we've got a little bit of a regular cadence, so our CSMs know I'm going to update this week or this quarter. I'm not going to do it next quarter. So they have that regular cadence. Then when somebody is put in, the CSM gets this alert and they say, yes, there is slight interest in our territory quota planning tool. We're adding them to a drip campaign. Based off of title, we're going off our sales ops managers now. So based off of this life cycle attribute, I believe, we're tracking our sales planning pipeline here. And so we're also pulling in that Salesforce data as well. I'm extremely excited for the opportunity features that are coming out soon that we saw this morning. So I feel like this is even going to become more robust. We're really finding that our CSMs are becoming so much more of sales reps. And this is a way for us to have them engaged in sales and expansion revenue without having to directly hound their customers, but putting them into a drip campaign to slowly nurture that.
All right, so we know that having meaningful engagements and product adoption leads to opportunities, which ultimately leads to revenue impact for us. But also, so does G2 reviews and references, right, to convert our prospects into new logos. And as a result of having meaningful engagements, greater product adoption, a loyal customer sentiment, which all gets reflected into customer health. All 4 of those metrics will ultimately lead to our customers wanting to stay and grow with us, creating our revenue impact. So here are some key takeaways. You really want to focus on these 5 metrics to build out your journeys and success blocks. Look for different opportunities for where you can really take your customer success metrics to drive additional, drive your business outcomes, additional business outcomes. And then remember that a metric is really just a starting point towards your next end goal. They're all interconnected, as we just saw, right, as part of your network of metrics.
Thanks you guys so much, Rachel and Ella.
Thanks, everyone.